Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Biblical Britain Uncoded. I've got a lot of, I'm a little later than normal, just over 2 weeks now since my last video. But I had a week that absolutely nothing, or practically nothing came, or over a week of it, and then all of a sudden it all started pouring in, as it always does, and puts some, to give the message that it gives is absolutely, as always, mind-blowing, and it ranges from biblical code to to ancient messages written in ancient times. Again, I always say this, but one of the most important parts of the Old Testament is where it says, I show you things in ancient times, so when they come to happen, you know I did it. And I am your God and Saviour, there is no other. Okay, and when you see how this unfolds, you'll see how clever this actually is. There are two main direct sort of ancient places that connect. One is Göbekli Tepe Temple, Turkey. Then when we get the American message, which I ask you to please stick with me on all right through this, because it's complex, but not that complex, if I can say that in the same sentence. But and you'll see what I mean when it comes. But what it is showing is lining up so perfectly with world events. The American message that I've found is just absolutely insane, and so is the connection, really, when you see how all this, what I've got up here on the board, shows you, and what this essentially is. I think it's in Hosea. I mean, rather than me just telling you, you can check it by typing in whelps in any biblical. I would go KVJ, but there's a passage that says, I come at you like a bear deprived of her whelps. Okay, so there's an amazing hidden code in this that just, again, defies logic, but is there. Okay, then in Daniel, you've got the prophecy of the bear with 3 ribs in its mouth. Bear raises up on one side with 3 ribs in his mouth and is told to devour much flesh. I've actually done this, but adding in, obviously this connects directly to the Göbekli Tepe Temple. Now I know why this sort of message in Göbekli Tepe is in Turkey, because Turkey are an important part of this. Okay, then you've got the final signal, and how that comes about and how it connects is absolutely mind-blowing. But I'm going to have to just scrub this board a little bit and start putting in some code. And then start trying to explain exactly. In fact, what I'll do, I'll start off right. A bear deprived. Right, the bear is Russia. There's no I've no qualm that the bear is Russia. And obviously, with the 3 ribs prophecy, the 3 ribs. If you look on a map, effectively you got Finland, Sweden, and Norway. And at the top end of Russia, so the bear lifted up on one side with 3 ribs. If you look at it on a map, you can clearly see. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to see that it actually looks. I mean, this is absolutely appalling drawing, and it always will be. Oh, that looks more like a blooming hand, 2 fingers, but you've got this sort of piece that goes there. Effectively, this is the side piece of a carcass with 3. If you had 3 ribs, if you drew it, if you did that, it's the same on the opposite side. You can see basically that it's 3. It effectively is 3 ribs broken off. This one's Finland, this one's Sweden, and this one's Norway. Okay, all 3 of those are coded, but there is so much more code to that, as you'll see, that it absolutely defies logic. Right, okay. The first thing we have to do, right, the assumption for whelps, a bear deprived of her whelps, is cubs. Now, I would suggest that the word cubs, obviously these are ancient writings, and the word cubs has been taken as presumably being being cubs, obviously, and a bear deprived of her cubs. So it's showing the anger, obviously. If she was deprived of her cubs, obviously she would come at you. And that is partly what this is. But there is also a secondary hidden code in it. Let me just move this a minute. Right. The word whelps. Okay, let's unscrabble it. Welsh P. Okay, very cleverly. This is right. You'll see. Well, you'll see what I mean now. This ties in what I've decoded as being the obviously the end time safe zone. At the same time, well, in these two words, in this sentence, this tells you what the whole conflict between Russia and the Ukraine and what all this is about. Just using the bear and whelps tells you, well, as you'll see, I'll unfold it now. The first thing you need to know is what is the Welsh pin. Well, on Solomon's Temple, and this will become apparent in code coming up now, there is a padlock built into the stonework, and I'll show you it a little bit later on the maps. But there's this padlock shape basically built into. It's actually a padlock built in. I've realised as well. The entire temple, Solomon's Temple, you've got. How does it go? Oh, something along. Is it two that side? I think. 2, 3. One is 2 and one is 3. There's something along these lines. Now, if you look at this is the lock effectively. That the key at Llanmelin, the fort that is absolutely clearly in the shape of a key. This is the actual unlocking of the city of David, or the city of Advid, the Clan Melvin, which is my family effectively. I know this sounds. If you're new to this, please bear with me because, like I say, if you're joining this now, it's like watching The Matrix 3/4 of the way through, and it will be a lot more complicated. And the film The Matrix, to try and grasp that halfway through is just impossible. But what you effectively have is inside there, you have this. This is the foundations of the temple at Caerwent, the Temple of Solomon, that I have, the only temple in Mon as well, Monmouthshire. Okay, now what is the Welsh P? Well, the Welsh P is the padlock. This is the padlock that opens the matrix. You'll see why I've left a gap now if you're new to this. Okay, so cleverly done is it that using the word padlock, unscrabble it, and it says add P lock. So the first thing I do is add the P and lock it in there. A matrix now becomes maptrix. And that's what this is all about. It's all about maptrix and an atlas message. Atlas is the same, it's an anagram of a last. And what it is there is a last message written for this time, as I'll show you, because I'm about to show you how wide this goes. Okay, and how this all connects now. So add P lock. So the Welsh padlock, now when you break the Solomon's symbol down, and your Cancer constellation and the Royal Arch and everything else, what you have is a star map, Solomon's Pillars. This is, without getting into it, this is Swindon, this is Exeter, this is Caerwent, which is Ventus Ilurum, where this is the pinpoint of the lock, and this is the fort in the shape of the key. So you've got, and this just opens up, these two just open up everything. All overlaid with a star map, and this being Holyhead. you dear holy head. Right, well, I'm not going to get too deep into this because most of you that are probably watching this have seen it before. But if you haven't, it's worth going back and seeing at least Solomon's Trixie, I think it is, part 1, 2 and 3. It'll make a whole lot more sense. But effectively, what you've got, so not only is this written this is another message written in ancient times, so that when it comes to happen, you'll know that that I did it, nobody else. Okay. So the Welsh P is actually the padlock. Again, going into it, put this around there. This shows the final end time safe zone. It's a combination. This is Canaan, in old terms and code, this is Canaan, Egypt, not the pillars, but the pinpoints, and Judah, or Judah as it's put down, but it should be a Y, not. So there's your KEY. So this is the key that opens up Solomon's combined nations safe padlock, basically. Once you undo the padlock, then you work out, and you can work out who King Solomon is and a million things from it. But without going off the track, because obviously I've got limited time with these videos. Right. So what we find. So the bear deprived of, and what this is what this padlock unlocks a safe zone. So what the Welsh P indicates is a safe zone. Okay. So let's just write this in. So firstly, it brings in and it confirms, as well as what it's about to show you, what the Welsh P tie in the Bible, Old Testament directly to Wales and the Welsh, which I have no doubt, that having nailed Jerusalem and Solomon's Temple really sets the center stage for the rest of it. Doesn't matter what else. If you can pin those two, and King David and Solomon, and all to one place, then you're already on a winner. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a second, guys and girls. Okay, all right. As you can see, my real bad drawing, but the only way that I can really try and show you how, and I want to reiterate that this is all map tricks, and it's an atlas, a last message written in map tricks. And he's, and he also says, I show you the end from the beginning. He's talking to this in a bigger way, but this started with Russia and Ukraine, and as I will show you, well, when you see the codes following this, you'll see exactly what he means, because look, it starts with Russia and Ukraine tell you the ending as well. Okay, right. What I've got here is a real bad piece of geography, as you can see, but I'm trying to highlight what this is all about. Right, to start off with, the Welsh. Right, what was this war all about? Well, it's about there's other reasons for it. That basically the Ukraine government decided to ban Russian language and anything to do with Russia, and a lot of people in Russia it was formerly Russia, Ukraine, basically spoke Russian and were happy being pretty much Russian, but living in this new state of Ukraine. They didn't take kindly to it. Now, I don't know. I don't really want to get into the politics of it, but they started shelling the Donbass area, and they killed an awful lot of civilian of these people in the Donbass. This has been going on since 2014. Russia pleaded with the United Nations to look at it, stop it, and so on and so forth, and they wouldn't do it. That's part one, or one part of the problem. The second part of the problem, there was a treaty, I forget the name of it, but there was a treaty between, something to do with the old Cold War ending, and there was a treaty that Russia would basically I think it was to do with letting go of East Germany. But what was agreed was they would basically back off, and we'd be at peace. The Cold War would end as long as NATO didn't encroach any further east towards Russia, you know, and grow NATO. Well, NATO's great wisdom, they allow 13 more countries to join NATO, obviously taking each one being a padlock, a safe zone really for Russia, so that they don't feel threatened by the West. Okay, they've moved up, they've got to Ukraine, and what Russia asked for was, well, one, to stop the shelling of the people and protect the people of the Donbass, which fell on deaf ears, but also they asked for a guarantee from the US and NATO that they would not allow Ukraine, Finland and Sweden to join NATO. And that was the fight, you know, those padlocks were on. If those padlocks were put in place and that agreement was done, then Russia would not have invaded Ukraine. As simple as that. Like I say, right. So what happened? They basically wouldn't give the guarantee. They won't stop shelling the people of the Donbass. Russia had enough, and basically the bottom line is this is what starts the war. So the first padlock was really, well, and they wouldn't lock it in, so Russia just basically opened it themselves, I suppose you could say, and went into Ukraine. Not in force, not in mass, but obviously to try to, I believe, to try to force, you know, some sort of peace settlement and get, you know, and put it right. Obviously, the West wouldn't do it, put sanctions onto Russia. And it also says in the Old Testament that they will get caught in their own snare. Well, the snare that the West has been using, NATO in particular, NATO and the US, is sanctions. They put it onto nations, squeeze them tight until they get the new government in that is willing to play ball. And they've been doing it consistently. They've been doing it everywhere. But without getting into it, they put the snare on Russia. Russia is obviously well prepared for this, along with China, and I think this goes back further, but again, without pushing into that. But what's happened now is that it's actually backfired, these sanctions, and Russia's doing fine and dandy, and the West is now struggling, and banks are starting to collapse, and the dollar is, well, and the Western economy is starting to implode. They're obviously covering this up pretty well, but you can see banks are popping in America left, right, and centre. And this is really the sad part is the only way that the West can is going to save its economy, and this is why this is going to end up as a World War III, is because they cannot lose to Russia, because the only way to save the dollar and the euro and everything else is now to defeat Russia. Has to be defeated. Russia obviously have a nuclear weapons, so and have said that, you know, if Russia's future is threatened, then obviously they'll do what they need to do. Obviously, it's like two freight trains running at each other. However, right, but back to with this, right. The first thing, right. The bear, the code in Daniel, the prophecy of the bear with three ribs in his mouth. It says the bear raises up on one side with three ribs in its mouth and is told to devour much flesh. Okay. Well, firstly, written in the Atlas, you've got at the top where the bear raises up is Siberia. That says the bear is and then it's Russia. So that just confirms that Russia is in fact the bear in the code. Like I said, if you look at it geographically, you'll see the three ribs. I mean, they're not quite as neat as that, but you'll see it if you look. I'll show you in a second. But what you first have, well, the flesh. To break the flesh code, you need to use the word Flemish. When you anagram that, as I've done, take it out. Well, you can see I am and then flesh. So I'm flesh. Makes sense. The flesh is on the outside. So the first flesh. Right. Once the flesh is devoured, then it says we end. The only missing letter is an S, because you've got Denmark, which is D-E-N, Mark, and then all I've done is taken the S down, which just ties the two together. Mark's end. We end. So this is showing you that that's the end of the NATO padlocks anyway. They're broken. Once they're defeated, obviously, and I mean, this is going to be, Right, this one's critical because the code in this is absolutely phenomenal and connects directly with this. Right, for now, I'll just leave it as on our way. But what it really is on way and an R. In fact, let's just do it. I'm going to do it and then I'll show you the code that backs this up. Okay, so, right, we have on way and R. So once these are destroyed, basically, they're on our way. How does this connect? Well, this connects to the last padlock, but this one is a safe zone, okay? This one's not going to be overrun, but it's obviously the safe place, and that's the whole point of the whole thing with Solomon. Right. The capital of Norway, and this is where it gets critical, is Oslo. Okay, when the capital falls, you know they're on their way. Where are they on their way to? They're on their way to Mon. Okay, they're not literally on their way to Mon, but it's using it as a signal. And what's at Mon, if you've been watching it, the G and the H is the safe zone, the lock and the key. This is Landmelin, this is Jerusalem. So you've got the Mon GH. Okay, right, now here comes the clever part. I'm going to have to remove Britain a minute. Right, now the signal for the moving, the time to be prepared to move, or start, depending on where you are, obviously. But this is the main signal. When Oslo falls, it signals time for the Solomon RGH. Now, if you've watched my other codes, the complete message in the constellation of Orion, the final part of the nebula message, is head RGH house, final land. I think that's how it's worded. You can check it. I've done it going back. It's the full Orion decode. Well, the RGH house is the house. It's effectively it's just showing you a meeting point. And the meeting point, the RGH house, is the house that I lived at, which connects directly to the Solomon Temple decode. It's the house that I lived at, Kyle Went House, which is about 20, 30 foot, not even that, 20 foot from the lock on the temple. That outline of the temple is just to the left of it, is the house that I lived when I was born. But I was taken to what has been decoded as the Royal Archway of Cancer, being the Royal Gwent Hospital, the RGH. And again, I don't want to go into the whole symbology with Solomon, but if you go back, you'll see that this fits perfectly. But the symbol to head RGH house, or Solomon, which is all written in the code of Solomon, the RGH, is Oslo falling, because the flesh has been devoured. We end, Mark's end, and they're on way to Solomon RGH. And that's the code within it. Okay, as you can see, I've got Turkey as well. Right, to do with back to the padlocks. Right, Turkey with the one nation that basically objected initially to Finland and Sweden joining NATO. Unfortunately, I'll say it's not their fault. I don't blame them in any way, shape or form. But Turkey with the final key for this to all be locked in for what is going to happen. That's what it amounts to. Because what they did, they backtracked and basically they allowed Finland in. The Finnish people. Okay. So when we take the one N out of Finnish people, they effectively, locked in, I'm afraid it's locked in the fate later on of the Finnish people. They're the Finnish people. I'm flesh, they're going to be devoured. It's all part of this Atlas code. And obviously Turkey turning the key. Again, as I state, this is not Turkey's fault. Obviously Turkey didn't want them. I mean, they haven't unlocked this padlock, but to be honest, once the bear raises up and goes into Finland, they're obviously going to go. These three countries are going to go side by side. It's going to back up, back up, back up until eventually Oslo falls, and then you know they're on their way. Okay, 2 seconds. Okay, the first incredible code that all defies logic. But if I'm, obviously to prove that this is an atlas, a last message written using map tricks, then obviously the more evidence there is from the most crazy of places, really, then obviously the more realistic it becomes, and you'll see that this is not chance. Now, like I say, I wouldn't know when to tell people to move. That's for sure. Obviously, and obviously, I don't want hundreds of people to head to where I live. But I don't know whether it means to, like, as soon as Oslo falls, leave then. I guess it depends where you live to how long it takes to get to Kayawent. But ultimately, I need to be able to prove to you that there's the beyond chat, and it really is beyond chance, because for this or this code, bear in mind this code links to I don't know, hundreds of other codes as well, probably, that all have been saying the same thing, written in the stars. And it's just trying to show you that it's so impossible to be chance. Right, we take the 4 capital cities now, the 4 main places involved in the main code. Obviously, the original code being I'm Flesh, we end, Mark's End, on our way. And then, as I've showed you, you've got Stockholm, Helsinki, Oslo, Copenhagen as the hidden message. And again, it's done like a script. This is what I just find is so surreal, because it's almost like it's written as a script, and it's like, I do wonder if this is knowledge I had, and maybe I can only assume I was there when this was written. I don't know, but it's done like a script. It says, as an exact anagram, I'm not going to cross it all out, but if you wish to do it, do it. I've been over it numerous times just to make sure 100% that it is what it is. So it says, he opens the link. Well, the link is Oslo and Mon. It's the R, the GH, and obviously written in Norway. So you've got Norway. Obviously, I see Solomon's Lock and GH. Well, Oslo is Solo, and obviously Mon is just Mon. And then you've got your RGH, which is your RGH safe zone. Head RGH house, final land. Again, written in Orion. Okay, now it says, I see Solomon's Lot, a GH. Again, if you don't understand the concept, the C is a trick C. Again, it's written in trick C. When you add, hang on, it's Solomon's, right, King Solomon's Temple. And again, and I've got more to add to this as well, showing that this is actually a trick C. Now the trick C is written in the land, in a complete message, not once, twice, and it gives so many different things that it's impossible, like I say, you just could not make it up. Right, but there's a trick C, and all I do is, if I add, basically you just add a C to this and then anagram it, and it says, so locking, and the C, Mon's Temple. That's the temple in Monmouthshire. This is the temple in Monmouthshire, Gwent, where the G went, because the G of Jerusalem went as well, as long with it being the identity of Jerusalem. It's all connected together. The same with the key as well. If you instead of using the word temple, you use the word key, you get the same thing. So lock in Mon's Key. Well, Mon's Key is the key for Clan Melin. It's the key to the fort in the shape of the key. And this is what makes up this GH. The Royal Arch in Cancer is effective. Well, it's basically, that's supposed to be Cancer. Shocking, but you've got these 2 pillars. The house I live is by the side of the temple where the lock is. And without going into it, this goes off. This is the star constellation of Cancer. But then what you have is, this is the Royal Arch of Cancer. This is G Roos. And I don't want to go into the complete thing, but this is the H-man, and this is Mel, the Melin H, the clan Melvin H, basically. When you put it together, you get the RGH. Well, the house I lived in when I was born was there. I was taken to the Royal Gwent Hospital, which is the Royal Arch in Cancer, where I was born on the 30th of June in Cancer. Your sun and your moon sign, I've got something to cut off the code on this as well. There's a face on it, and that is very important, as you'll see. And then your crescent moon, again, crescent, when you unscrabble crescent moon, it says secret C on Mon. It's the sun of the moon comes to the full, highlights the safe zone, sun of the moon sign in Cancer, born in the Royal Gwent Hospital, lived here. You couldn't make it up. And I've uncoded a lot more than that. The 7 stars and the Pleiades is Please ID. Please ID, the secret C on Mon. So the secret C on Mon, and this is where this IC, Solomon's Lock, a GH. Well, this is so locking in Mon's kingdom, or so locking in Mon's temple, sorry, where the lock is, the padlock, and also where you get the G and the H code from. So there's just one part. So take the capital cities of those 4 nations that are all part of that, the final collapse, if you like, and the final warning sign. And then you unscrabble and it says he opens the link. So there's the link. I see Solomon's Lock, a GH. I see Solomon's Lock. This is the lock. It's also the Welsh. The lock, a GH, is the Welsh P. Or the add P lock. Locks the map tricks. Okay, folks, that's part 1. Okay, so the final part of this message, again, lightning doesn't strike twice, they say. Well, it strikes over and over in this matrix, I can tell you now, or this spark of genius do. Right, Turkey, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark. I've held off Russia, Ukraine, because that's the final. Remember I said about the end from the beginning. Okay, right. This there says, turn final key, mark end, wed Norway ends. Well, the wed Norway ends, again, is Oslo Mon. Onway, Norway, R-G-H. So he's telling you to wed the Norway, when Norway ends. When Norway ends is when Oslo falls. They're on their way to, obviously, to Solo Mon, R-G-H. Okay, so that obviously explains that. Now, this is the crazy part now. Like I said, this is where, and I've separated it because this is an actual statement in itself. It says, well, so that bit is Russia. Russia are in UK, and that's what like I say, you couldn't make this up. There's no, as many. Well, I do. I'm terrible for it because, like last week when it was quiet, I always question myself: is this possibly just? Am I just able? I don't know. By some miracle reason able to do this. I know I don't do it on my own. That's the thing. I can search and search when I'm not getting anything coming into my head guiding me. I can't find. I've done, I try at times, but I just give up because it's pointless. I can't find anything, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, I just get this sensation to go look, and this is and you haven't seen even. There's another one yet that even blows. For those in America, they've got. Well, this is frightening enough, but I wouldn't want to be in America right now. And there's a serious message for them coming up as part of the next one. So I'm just going to quickly show you the map, the kind of map I've done. Right, bear with me 2 seconds, folks. Okay, I almost forgot this one. Right, just to show you that there is a route. Basically, it's almost like a map, Yeah, well, it is a route map, and I will show you a miracle in it, just a miracle code. Right, this is because I show you things in ancient times, so when they come to happen, you know that I told you that I did it, nobody else. I mean, obviously this is not the scale, but what effectively you've got Turkey is the turn the key. Then you've got the Ukraine, that they're obviously open. Then you've got the Finland lock, the Sweden lock. Then Oslo falls, which gives you your Solomon, and then you've got your Lockety key, which is your safe zone. Okay, well, let's just see what the ancient message is, which starts in Turkey. Okay, amazingly, not only is it, I did wonder why he was using a temple in Turkey to give this particular message, but here comes when you see the message, you'll know why. It says, and I'm going to actually break this one down because I don't want any doubt. Key. Oops, let's cross them off. R-O-U-T-E. L-I-T. Keep GB temple key root lit. In other words, keep it in your mind so that you know what to look out for. So keep GB. GB is obviously Great Britain. Temple key. That's your two in the safe zone at the end of it. Temple key root lit. Starting in Turkey, where this temple is. Then it goes, boom, Ukraine's open, Finland's open. I think this is the order, almost the order of war that comes from it. But so again, like I say, you couldn't make this stuff up. It just fits absolutely perfectly, and you'll see the same in America when I show you next on the next part of it. But like I say, there's a creator, folks, and he's very real, and he put this there. There's no doubt that this is not coincidence. I challenge anyone in the world to do a prophecy and actually show it in black and white. The difference is, he doesn't just tell me to go and tell you things. Like, I don't speak to him, as I've told you, I've explained there. It's hard to even explain how it happens. But when I don't even know, I really am at a loss to explain it. I know it happens, but when it happens, what it does, it takes me to these places and leads me. And it shows me a certain place, and then and the truth is, I have to unscrabble it, and it is difficult sometimes. But I miraculously, everywhere I go in the world, like you would not expect a temple in Turkey to connect to this. So how the heckers did I even think of it? That's what I mean. But it just come into my head to go to Göbekli Tepe Temple and just uncode it, and I did that long before I got all the stuff that I've just shown you. In fact, the only thing I was missing was this. I did say that I said to watch Finland, but obviously Oslo falling is the big one, because once a nation is defeated and it falls, and obviously it's encoded that they're on their way, and it even tells you where they're going, and it all connects Solomon, the key, the temple, everything. This is all the work of the Almighty Creator. He really does exist, and I think I probably must be the only person in the world that can show in black and white miracle after miracle of code that is written into the places where you cannot even research. It's not like, it's not coming out of books or anything else. This is coming directly from above. But he keeps sending it to me, and every time, even I get doubts at times, and I've got to kick myself and look at it, because this has become so commonplace. It does. But even now I'm doing it, even while I'm doing this code, I can see, I know that this is not me. No, I'm a security guard. I'm not like, I didn't go to university, or do any, well, I had no interest in any of this 3 years ago. I didn't know of anything about it. And I certainly did not expect to be bringing this type of message to people. And I'm not an idiot, stupid enough, or an idiot that would go out saying stupid things. I'm showing you it because it's there. And if I don't show you it, and I have no doubt this is going to take place, when I don't know, but obviously I don't know. Well, as you can see, it's there. Right, okay, we're not finished yet though, folks. Hold on to your hats. Just quickly before I finish up on Britain, don't take this the wrong way. There's no picture of a key. There's no picture of locks on the. Well, the only picture of a lock is actually on the temple itself, which I'll show you a little in close now. But as you can see, I've just done it. This is to keep the key route lit. The key is Turkey. Then you've got Ukraine. That lock's open. I might shock it. I've had to, you can see I've just connected this up, just trying to show you that when that one's open. Finland, this one has now been opened. This one's still locked, but probably about to be opened, and I don't think it matters anyway, because I think once the first lock is open, the Russian bear will be breaking through this lock anyway, because it will come, as a matter of course. The dot here is just Oslo. Oslo is the capital of Norway, and then all I've done is, I've collected it directly, but there's an attack coming in from where? Maybe from this side down through the north of Scotland, probably from this. I wouldn't be surprised if it come in this side actually, and you see chaos reigning on this side of Britain where they attack or they invade. As we go in close, let me just, and like I say, I'm only doing it just to show you. This is the padlock on the temple. As you can see, this is actually the key. This is actually the keyhole, but you've got to take the padlock off first, and then use the. It's not the greatest picture of the key, but this is then the key. It's a broken key, but up north there's a place called Kenny's Commander. It says Marco Mensby key, and when you point this key, it points to where I am now. Well, I'm in Corsham, which says Marco's H as well, which is to do with the Melin H. This is Fort Lanmelin. I won't go into the decoding of it, but this is the old fort of the Siluri, or the Israelites, as we know, or supposedly the Israelites are not, they're Siluris. And this is the fort down here. This is Solomon's temple. This is what's known as Vent Silurum, but I've decoded it as Jerusalem, named after the constellation Jerus. Again, you'd have to go back through videos, but it's a big wall, huge wall fort with, in its day, 60-70 foot wall, so it's an imposing place. This is the real Jerusalem. I have no doubt to that. If you have any doubt, just go to the Jerus, the Crane constellation map, and have a look at that one. In one of Second Solomon, I think, the Second Solomon decode. Okay, folks, I'll just pause you. I just wanted to quickly show you that. In fact, while we're at it, let me just show you this. Okay, because this is part. Right, I did this 10 months ago. An absolute menacing, most menacing signal there is, really. As you can see, it's like, I don't know what you call it, like a side, the Grim Reaper, really. The biggest clue to hold in it is written in Mexico. It says C-O-M-E, come, XZ. Well, XZ is the leader of China, Xi Jinping. He's holding it. I'll break it down now because there's more code in this, and all the code is written inside this blade. But I'm going to show you how this connects back also to Jerusalem and what this all breaks down to. Again, like I say, doesn't strike this many times. But even if you've seen this decode once or part of it where I did it, please hold in there because the second part is absolutely amazing. Okay, just 2 seconds, folks. Okay, folks, just right. If you've already watched this, please don't turn off yet, because there's a whole huge new message written in this blip, which I'll come to. But obviously, I'm pretty sure not everyone watches every video, and this, you could call this a new and improved version. Actually, the coordinates are all the same. One message that I got slightly wrong was this San Silent Palmer, San Cosme, but in this is a complete scram well, I think scrambled, yeah, what it is a scrambled message that means so much. And like I say, it's not on its own. This just makes this scythe, okay? This is the reaping of America. If you take California as on its own, which is where this initial, this sort of like triangle of the blade is, California says the corn, I think it's corn I fail, I think. And when Yah talks about corn, he always talks about corn, I think it's corn I fail, something that I think, I'm sure that's what it is. It's corn I fail, California. But obviously, this is the reaping of America. And it even tells you how it's going to happen, and it's all very cleverly done in this word code. Your ancient message, because like, I'm not sure exactly where they are, I think it's just off here, but in Mexico, you've got Chichen Itza Pyramid, Mexico. Now, that is your ancient message. I show you things in ancient times, so when they come to pass, you know that I did it, no, you know, and it was no one else. But firstly, right, the place is in the blade, and I'm going to have to scrub all this and then just show you, and you'll have to compare them yourself, because Sacramento is quite a big code in itself. But you've got like, one is Sacramento, Los Angeles. This is specifically the Las Vegas Pyramid. There's a reason for that. There's two codes in it. One is, gives you Lucifer being Lawrence Douglas Fink. It's part of his code. But there's my code and Lawrence Douglas Fink code. We're going to do my code on this. So we've got Las Vegas Pyramid. And these two are impossible. How I found these the first time, I don't know. Because I had to go back and try and type it in to even find them. And I had trouble doing that, because there's more than one place named some of these. But down in, I think it's on the border of Argentina and Paraguay, I believe, is San Silu del Palma and San Cosme. They make up the handle, even though it looks like one very thin blade at the bottom on the actual handle. They are actually separated. But I think it's making a point. And doesn't it make a point? Right, Newport News, Vancouver is this one. That is so important, and that ties perfectly as well with the other message that I'm going to show you in this. Mexico is where the handle is. As I've shown you, that actually says come Z. Right, mercury crystal make up the place here. Now, I think this is the message in the firmament. In Ezekiel, it says something about the dark crystal in the firmament. Well, I think the dark crystal is the message written in it. And funnily enough, I think the firmament, if I'm not mistaken, is made of mercury crystal, which is actually a thing. I didn't even know that when I checked it, and actually has the chemical formula of Hg, as above, so below. GH. Okay, but I won't even get into that. But this makes up this part of the blade here, or the actual cutting edge. Okay, right, now I'm going to have to break all this off, but I'll show you the code, what this all says now when I unscrabble it. Okay, I'm just going to show you the initial one. Chichen Itza Pyramid, Mexico. I show you things in ancient times. When you know they happen, you know I did it. Right, okay, so the first thing, what they actually says, the message here is, okay, obviously I'll put that in brackets, but what you've got is he see it's China. Again, CISO locking in Mon's safe zone, that's what this amounts to, because this is what even this is going to, this whole thing is going to point to it. He see it's China, your map ID, come XZ. Well, the XZ is Jinping. He's the leader of China, and that is who currently we're almost headlong heading to a war over Taiwan, which will become apparent in the main message when I show you that. Okay, 2 seconds. Okay, folks, right. Just to unscrabble all this. Firstly, there's a reason that Sacramento is at the top of this horrendous, well, let's be honest, it's an horrendous symbol. An horrendous symbol with bad messages. That's what it, well, you know, obviously. Right, the first thing, right, a sacrament is a sign between man and God, as it would, you would call him, but his name's Yahweh. Okay, well, he's given me the sign to show you effectively. And right, so what you've got is a sacrament. Oh, what you do to get the code is you reverse it first, oh sacrament. So, because he's always using this, you know, if you read the Old Testament, it's, oh, see this, and oh, do that, and, you know, and he always says this old thing. Right, obviously it's purposed as well. So it's oh sacrament, but when you unscramble it as well, it also says Saint Marco, amazingly enough. Right. Once you've got those three, first thing you notice is an SOS on there. So it told me there's a bigger message within this message. Okay, so when I unscramble the message, what I get is Marco sent to SOS via remnant. Carries over a CRA. Okay, then you go to Los Angeles, which effectively you put the ES on that and it says loses angel. I'm surprised nobody's already picked up on this matrix, or possibly they have, I don't know. Right, Los Angeles, so it's loses angel. Then when we take these letters down, it's C loses a archangel. Las Vegas Pyramid, salvage your map IDs. That's what I've been doing all along, is salvaging your my map IDs. G is a pyramid, a G is your map ID. Teotihuacan or something, is it? I forget the name. It's a funny pyramid, but in that says, can you tie your map ID to a H? Well, obviously, then you take the Giza and that one together and you put them together and you get the G. This is where you get the GH. Okay, the lock and the key. Okay, on the blade as well, like I said, mercury crystal, and I'm sure this is the message in the firmament. I'm sure this I don't even know anything about it, but it comes up with the HG symbol, which is the reverse of the GH, so as above, so below. Then when you unscrabble this, it says last cry of Cymru. Now, Cymru is another one, obviously the Welsh name for Wales, but it is also, or should be, Gymru. If I change that to a G, it becomes Mr. Guy. Obviously, my name is Marco Guy, or Mr. Marco Guy, whichever. But that's the first part of the triangle and the sort of blade. Okay, bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, the bottom of the handle made up of these two places, and how I found these I do not know. Clearly I was led to them because they're so small you wouldn't even know they were there, and they took some finding the second time. Right, it says oh, that should have an R on it. Sorry, Sam Palmer. That's right. You can check these guys. I'm not making it up. That's how you spell it. AP S. See Marco's maps. ALL LUN IDs. All right, see Marco's maps, all lunar IDs. Again, if you go to Orion's sword or Orion's words, and you've got the M, because what you do, it's actually the M42 nebula. But what you do is you change Orion's sword into words. Words and swords are the same letters. M42 nebula. Again, this is all part of that final message in Orion. M42 nebula says, my two fort be Luna, Luna. The reason for this is, again, it's all down to these two pillars, the Cancer constellation, which is a moon sign, and I am the moon sign in Cancer. That's what this is all about, and it's the moon highlighting this. But it also tells you that the secret sea beyond Mon, which obviously again unlocks it. But my two fort be Luna. Well, the two forts are G and your H again. So again, this is all connected because everything seems to be doing with Sol and Moon. The Sol and the Moon, the sun of the moon sign in Cancer. And again, just by some miracle, this now not only well, never mind the fact that you get a disjoint side from these coordinates, you get all the code that goes within it that fits perfectly together. And I mean, I'm just giving one example of the lunar thing. There's so many more. Okay, right. Okay, we're gonna have to right. Let's just do quickly. Right, Newport News. There's a place called Newport News, Vancouver. Oh. Okay, if I just do it quickly, right. The Newport News, not in America, but in Newport, where I was born in the Royal Gwent Hospital, which is the RGH, the Newport newspaper is actually called it's called the South Wales Argus. Okay, interesting, because firstly, it's Jerus, obviously Jerusalem. This is all hidden code again. Not only is it this, but the big message, I don't want to give too much away, but just keep this word in mind, the Argus, because the Newport News is unbelievably, right, what's encoded ties directly with this in all the states of the blade. Right, I'm going to have to pause you a second. Okay, folks, on the purpose of time, I'm not going to break all this down, like crossing each one off, but I can assure you I've been over and over and over it, and it fits like a glove. Okay, there's a message written in that. Now, these are all literally every single state that crosses that the actual blade itself, in this obviously this thing, and the final point of the thing, like I showed you, is Newport News. Okay, because this is very apparent when I decode this. Okay, like I said, I'm not going to cross them off, so if you want to write them down, feel free, pause it, write them down, and then you can try it yourself. But bear with me a second while I write up the message. There you go, folks. Look to Marco in a China-Taiwan invasion crisis and a Siluri Fort ID I ran in the UK. I gave all Argus Navis ID a Scion ID. Right, the Argus Navis, again, the Newport News, is and the Argus Van. What it really is, Argus Van is. This is why not only is Newport News in the van you cover, and what does it mean by the van? It's the Arcavan, the caravan. It's just using it as a pinpoint for the Newport News. And I was born in Newport, and I'm giving you the news. Again, it ties to the local paper, which is called the South Wales Argus, which is a G-Roos, is a G-Roos van. The van you cover, Vancouver. Again, now he gave all, it said, well, let's just look at this realistically. Number one, it says Marco, and I'm pretty sure and confident that this is telling me that if you're in America and China invade, the place you need to get to is Newport News, or near to Newport News, where they're, well, it looks port. I mean, I don't even know the place other than a map, but it looks to be like quite a good, well, I'm guessing a crossing point to the UK. And I'm thinking if you do the right thing, get your hands up. This is where you, in America, I'm sure, well, it is, and I feel it really is the place to go to escape from the China-Taiwan invasion crisis that will arise, because America and crazy Biden is about, to defend it, and it clearly is coming. And if this is all coincidence that these messages come, and again, these messages have been there forever. This is prophecy in the making. It's literally prophecy. All it needs is somebody, me, for whatever reason, to be sent in, and then to be woken up, have the clue, just have these clue, all this put into my head, to go to these places and find what is already written there. The miracle is not, well, there's a miracle that I find it, but it's not my miracle, it's Yah's miracle. And when you break it down, it says, look to Marco in the China-Taiwan invasion crisis. That is exactly where we are right now. There is no question. This is what we're, almost what we're waiting for. China is preparing for war. And then media are not telling you everything. I can tell you that now. I've got like sources on YouTube that, and they're not stupid people. They're people with contacts in places that are outside of the media, let's put it that way. It even names a Sayuri key fort ID. Well, that would be Clan Melin or Clan Melvin, which is the key to open G-Rus, which is Jerusalem, which is the same as a G-Rus. Now, the ship, the Argus Navis, it says, I gave all Argus Navis ID. Well, the Argus Navis constellation is made up of four. They've split them up now. They're G-Rus, Carina, Vela, and Pupis. The G-Rus is the crane on the dock side. Carina is the keel. Vela is the sail. And Pupis is the stern. So basically, it's telling you, well, the fact that there is not only the name G-Rus, the constellation G-Rus fits in there. This whole constellation used to be called the Argus Navis. Like I say, it doesn't exist as that anymore. It's broken down into the four. When you put the four together, it gives you all the parts of the ship, or three parts of the ship, and the ship is then laid out. And it's what all the clues that got me to draw like Carina is car in a keel. The Carina the keel, sorry, is car in the keel. Well, the car in the keel is the M4 motorway, and that's what makes up the keel of the ship. Even if you look at the symbolic, Solomon symbology again, that I don't think even the Masons know what this whole thing is a prophecy in itself. When they have this thing there, they have not only have the BI, which is the milking and the bees and the honey bees. It's the land of milk and honey. You also have there's a picture of an ark, literally an ark. Sometimes it just shows an anchor, and sometimes it shows the ark and the anchor. But if you go back to the anchor, I think one of the last videos I did, the anchor then connects all my children, everything, back to the safe zone, and it draws the picture of the anchor in the desert, anchoring it, and just the whole code of it is impossible to be coincidence. So the Argus Navis and a G-Rus van is a G-Rus van. That's what it says. And my van is right by where the ship is. I almost feel like it's kind of like the booking office for to get off. Well, I don't think it's to get off the planet. I wouldn't have. Well, who knows? But it's certainly symbolic, and even the coded messages in it tells you where to place the ark on the Sab, being the Severn River. When you decode that. And it gives you the complete instruction. Then you've got places like Carkeel in Cornwall, you've got Hull in Humberside, all that is coded. The Crew in Cheshire, Crew in Cheshire, I think, no, Crew Chester, which is a Secret H Crew, I think, or something along them lines. There's a place up north, I forget the name of it, which gives you the stern. What else is there? I don't know. But you can literally, you find the pieces all on the map. You find the pieces in the stars. You connect it all together, and then and not only that, even the ship itself gives its own message telling you about the trick sea for Solomon. You just could not make it up. And ties to Noah's Ark Farm Zoo, and 2 places I lived as a child. Literally, one being where the lock is. I'll show you on the map in a second. But right, without getting into it too much, but you can clearly see it's not just mumbo jumbo. This is clearly stating fact. A Scion ID. Right, I know why this is there. If you look at the word, if you actually type in what definition of Scion, it tells you that it's the Hebrew Zion. Now, the Hebrew is to do with the spider and her web. Her web, because the church's web is Hebrew. It's all a, it's all, I don't want to get into that right now. But effectively, Zion, it links directly to Jerusalem. And if you watch the film The Matrix, Zion, I'm not sure how it ends on that, but it is the final sort of bastion for humanity, if you want to call it that. I don't know. And then when you take the codes in, just for the Wales, England, Scotland, Ireland code, which is the WISE code, it says recon seal, a G will stand, end land. Then you've got Orion Nebula's message. Well, the whole thing of Orion is a big message, but even the Nebula message, I forget what it is. It says, see a switch far ahead. I've forgotten, but the last part of it says, head RGH house, final land. So this absolutely 100% literally all ties together. And like I said, what are the chances? 10 months ago, I put this blade together. I was shown that. Obviously, everything in that connects to the same thing. And then you get this message that fits precisely to where we are right now with the China-Taiwan invasion crisis, with the Siluri key for idea pointing out Iran in the UK. So it's even acknowledging this is in America and that was in the UK. So even that in itself. You count up the number of coincidences in all these things that I'm showing you, and it puts it beyond coincidence. If I told you these were lottery numbers, we'd all, well, I'd be rushing to do them right now, hypothetically. But as you can see, what a message. And like I say, it's not a good, it isn't really, it's not, it's good news, Newport News, but it's not good in what it's saying, backed up by a big picture of a scythe, the Grim Reaper scythe. If you doubt that G-Roos is G-Roos as well, go back to it and see the map in South America and the code in Taurus. The Taurus message tells you to go to Guyana and fight something about the secret I hid in Branalide, and then you draw literally the constellation of G-Roos with all clues: a guy in a city and a guy surname I am a mapper, B Mel, So Silu, So Asilu, and then Fortaleza is seal a fort. Well, it seals the fort G-Roos, and the secret hidden is the name Marco just above a place called Belém, which when you inscribe it says B Mel, Marco B Mel. Well, I am a Marco at Melvin, a surname G, which is also Jerusalem backwards. When you fill in the missing bits, bring them out, it says Vine Man. I don't even know what else to tell you people. If this is I honestly, the more I see even do this, the more it just becomes so apparent that this is real. On that note, I'll just pause you. Okay, folks, more map tricks or more tricks. And this is connecting again. This is connecting biblically as well. I don't believe the Old Testament is anything like it should be, but there is so many clues in it. It's frightening. Okay, right. The first thing I've already done this. The 3 patriarchs. When you inscribe it, it says the 3 parts high arches. Cutting it short, the Royal Arch in Cancer. That's where I was born. Son of the moon sign in Cancer. Who unlocks the code basically. And discovers that this is birthplace, which is the Royal Arch in Cancer. We'll go to that. Right, the Royal Arch in Cancer, G-Roos, which is the first fort, and Melin H, or the H man, which is also the H of the crown of C, Melin, M-E-L-I-N, and there's Melin G. So again, it's Marco at Melvin Guy, the H man, the Royal G-H. Again, it's all encoded into this whole thing. Right, now this is where it gets incredible. Right, the matriarch, as I showed you, written in the rivers, amazingly, and this gives you your Clan Melvin, by the way. Use this C, overlay Clan Melin, which is the key fort, and what you do, you overlay the C onto it, and you get Clan Mel. Then you add VID David it, add VID. This is the David coding David, King David, or Colchester locking King David, secret H. Right, but why Usk, Avon and Severn, the 4 rivers. I've done this again, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You saw V on key. Well, the first V on key is the fact I just put a V into Clan Mel, or Clan into Melin, and you get Melvin. Then it says saw key, sorry, it says saw, that's wrong, saw V, that's right, saw V. This is all from anagram from this. There's 2 messages. You saw V on key. Oh yeah, seen RV or seen rendezvous. Seen the caravan as well. Caravan is an RV, but it's also that's written the River Severn. Okay, you saw V on key, seen RV. Okay, rendezvous point. Saw V, use Vernon key. Well, Vernon is my mother. My mother's maiden name. This ties with Melkin as well with his prophecy. But if you put the 2 together, you get Melkin and Vernon, or making a tau for the Clan Melvin in completion. There's more to it than that. Right, this is where it gets amazing. Right, the matriarch. My mother is the family matriarch right now. She's the head of the family. Matriarch is the code in itself. M-A-3-R. All I do is split it up. Then what I do, so why I think they got this symbology from somewhere, but you've probably seen this. It's about the chi rho. Well, what this effectively is a P and an X. When I drop the P in and the X in, it gives you a matrix arch. Well, the matrix arch, this is the trick, it's all written in the trick of Solomon, and you've got the PX, the matrix arch. Now, what's amazing about this, right, if I use that bit, I just wanted to give you a quick scan over that bit. Right, okay. Right, the 4 matriarchs of the Old Testament are Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel and Leah. Not very Middle Eastern names either, because they haven't been changed for some reason, whereas I think a lot of the others have. Right, when you're going to take this apart, it's, right, bear with me, it says, see, well, the crab arch seal is this. That's what that is. Oops, that's too big, but right, the crab arch seal. Right, now the second part is a clue. Here, heal. See a crab arch seal. Here, heal. Well, where do you heal? In a hospital, the Royal Gwent Hospital. This is it's all symbolic to give you map coordinates using the matrix and the arch. So see a crab. Crab is obviously Cancer is the crab. Again, the seal goes with the 999 and the 666. One is a good, the hospital above ground where we get the healing from the 666. Thinks Fallen Few, the World Economic Forum underneath. So that's effectively the code in the, well, the Vatican and everything else. Now, what's incredible as well, right, this one baffled me, but I finally got it. It is King David is Caradoc at Bran. So how do we connect him to my family? Right, well, it says, where are we? Oh, I had Grandpa Crab. Well, who's Grandpa Crab? It's Mel number one. It's the clan Melvin. My grandfather, Melvin ap Robert. My father, Melvin ap Melvin. Me being Marco ap Melvin, and a Melvin line, or Melvin line. Well, my grandfather's birthday, unbelievably, was on July. He's passed now. Is it the 13th or the 15th? July the 15th, I think it is. It's either the 13th or the 15th, but either way, my grandpa was indeed was born in the moon sign, the root of Advid. I think my grandfather is the root of the elm, the Mel tree. His name's Mel, and the Mel is in reverse the elm, and this is the uprooted tree and the replanted one. So my grandfather was the root of the tree. Okay, and bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, folks, just to show you, there's no fluke, any of this, and how it all pieces together. Absolutely, and this map tricks is very real. And like I say, I'm trying to throw so much at you. You know, each time I get it, I throw so much at you that you can see this is clearly not by accident. Okay, right. The first thing I know, right, without going into all the names of the place, but I will read them actually. Right, the first message you get on this first line, which goes from the Royal Gwent Hospital to Portskewer. Place it passes Royal Gwent Hospital, Casnewydd, Will Creek Mega, Lanfiangle Roggett, Caldecott, Portskewer. This, when you break this down, and this also gives you, right, the Gwynedd Zodiac. When you take the word Gwynedd Zodiac, it says go ID Casnewydd. So obviously, when you, without going into it, I don't want to get, right, okay, let's just stick with the basics. I go ID Casnewydd RGH, so that's the Royal Gwent Hospital, I go ID it. I will see train trick C. Well, the train trick C is written in this line here that stops at Temple Meads. Temple Meads is Temple me adds, or me adds me temple. When you add me temple, you go Marco temple, unscrabble, it says am completer. There's another one. The train trick C is the train in the temple. It's actually mentioned in the Book of Solomon, I believe. It says something about a train in the temple, which is a bit weird, but I realised that the train is also, in them days, would have been a caravan. So that's another part of it. I will see train trick C and the train Trixie as well. Obviously the Trixie is the C that I showed you that goes to Solomon, and it's the one, the code breaker. Trixie adds me temple, trust book, that's the Atlas, keeps his word because it's giving us a safe zone which you get out of all of, oh, this is the Argus Navis again, I'll show you on the map. Right, but there's also a second, I've noticed, I don't know whether this is about to make a picture or something, but at this point, but it clearly lines up. Connecting, you've got Bishton and Redwick. Bishton and Redwick, be shown trick ID. That's an exact anagram of what that says. Then you've got 3 more, Nash, Goldcliff, Summerlees. Nash, Goldcliff, Summerlees, that crosses over in these lines somewhere. But when you, I'll show you on the map, but it says find Mel H. Well, I've already found Mel H. That's written in Melchizedek and a load of other things, which is why you get the Mel in H. Sol face, right, the Sol face is the Sol O Moon. This is the face of the sun of the moon sign in Cancer, again, which is all to do with the hospital, which is the H, but the Sol face is the picture of the sun, which you take the sun of the moon sign in Cancer, who unlocks all the things and also finds Jerusalem. So you literally got, well, you practically got your RGH in there, all the coordinates for it. So just a quick one, just to show you that this is an Atlas message. It's all there. Angel mark would go, you forget all. That couldn't have been, you know, I would never be saying any of this. Well, I'm not saying it really. The whole code is saying it for me because I don't remember anything, obviously. But every time I seem to get these, like I say, it's like a script almost, like it was written to be like, I speak, Yah speak, or Yah speak, and then I speak, or it seems to link I and he, and goes back and forth. Okay, I'll just show you the map before I finalise this one. And I hope by now your mind is blown and you're going to get those hands up. Okay, folks, I hope you can see this. It's obviously, I haven't got I'm just moving the camera. But what I'm just trying to show you is that where these lines go. I mean, I've shortened this one because this one goes up past the crab in the Gwyneth Zodiac as well, which but I'm not sure what this is trying to do at the moment. If it's trying to show me or make a picture of some description, but just to show you where these places are. This is the first line, goes from there to from Royal Gwent Hospital entrance, Newport to the Port Skewett. This is Bishton. This is Redwick, which gives you that. What does it say? It says be shown trick ID. The trick ID is written in here. The tricks. This one says I go ID, catch me with RGH. I will see train trick C. Angel Martin go. We forget all. Cuts across, makes the deck of the ship as well. Then you've got the car and a keel, or the car keel, and the carina the keel, the star constellation, a car and a keel. Well, there's your keel. This is made up of the M4 motorway. There's also an anchor that runs off this ship, goes down to the desert. That one's all coded as well. Effectively, this is the Argus Navis. This is the ship that you decode from the stars and the map. This is the lock and key. It sort of goes down. This is Noah's Ark Farm Zoo in Bristol, right on the giraffe. If you go back with this connects to the Camelopardalis or whatever it is. The giraffe constellation shows where I lived as a kid, not once but twice on the same line. If I can find you, hang on, let's cross over the river. I've got a double line just because I haven't straightened it up, but this is the house that I lived when we moved from Cowent, from Solomon's Temple, basically. This is where we moved to. Longfellow Road, Longfellow being the giraffe. Oh, I don't want that. Get back. Right. Let's say, and then this one then hits where it's a bit of a mess because I haven't straighten that up and put them all central. There's the lock. This is the house that I lived in when I was born, right next to the temple with the lock. This is the Temple of Solomon. Was taken to the RGH, the Royal Gwent Hospital, then brought back to this house. Then we moved to this house. Then later in life, well, even one of the star constellations says, as Noah is true, I am ID. Well, then you got down there and you go into the Noah's Ark Farm Zoo. Like I say, this is all in a giant plan. Anyway, folks, on that note, all right, I'll just pause you a sec. I just want to tie up. Okay, folks, right, as you can see, all right, I just want to clear this one up because it's priceless. Right, what you have on the Great Seal of Solomon, which I've already decoded the message in it, it's quite brilliant. You have the Seal of Solomon, and then you have him up top and his reflection at the bottom, and it's obviously cut off, and he's looking into water. Right, well, firstly, he's looking into water. The water he's looking into is the Severn, the River Severn. Okay, which is seen RV. Okay. Right, when you see the RV, this is the map of the safe zone, effectively, when it's placed on. You've got Canaan, Egypt, and Judea, or represented because it's Swindon, Exeter, and Holyhead. Right, I won't get into all that, but basically that is the key. The key to breaking all this is in the KEY. Right, when you reverse it, you've got your sins of Canaan and Egypt. What you do, you put the sins of Egypt, you put the sins of Canaan in there, and your feet firmly in with Yah, I guess. This is how I pray. So go and, right, the message from Solomon is go and pray. This is me praying, this is how I do it. Put my sins on my palms, and this is what you need to do. Put my sins on my palms, feet together, stand the letter Y of Yahweh's name, that's what it really represents, and lower my head when I'm speaking to him. And what happened to me is I've literally unlocked, probably, the key is probably the mouth, and I've unlocked the brain and the mouth of Mol, I'm guessing. When I did it, I saw the reflection because the safe zone coordinates are obviously the same as the shape you make when you go and pray. And I asked him to fill this cup with wisdom, and he pours it in, and that represents the River Severn as well, but I won't get into that. Right, what's important about this is this is what the reflection of Solomon is all about. What I've done is all code C, so this is your code C. This is also locking in Mon's key and temple, which is what this does. G and H is the key and the temple. It's the G is the Jerusalem is the lock, H is the key. So locking Mon's temple and key, basic temple and key. That's by using the trick C with King Solomon's temple. Okay, go and pray. Now there's a reason I write this, because what this does is this actually in reverse, and you could never work this out unless you were shown it. There is no way on earth, because I haven't worked it out this way. I already know how this works, but I've realised how symbolic this actually is. And what this says is, what you actually get when you say this is why his name actually says go and pray. So I did, went and prayed like I was given to do, and then found that I found all code C, and the code C unlocks everything of the safe zone and the end times, and this is what the message in there. All connected by the Severn, which was originally the Sab River, and then you take your bath, your symbolic bath at Roost Day, which is what I do, which is an anagram of Saturday. So you take your Sab bath at Roost Day in the land of, well, his rule, not Israel, the land of his rule, kept by the original Siluri, who were the supposed Israelites. Now you've got, and I've just become the secret H, which is the H man, which also gives my sort of title, Siluri H. So, folks, you need to get right with the Creator. Put your sins in your palms, hold them up to heaven. When you pray with your hands together, this is deliberate, because your hands, what they're doing, they're getting you hide your sins. This is what it symbolises, hiding your sins, crouching over. No, you put your hands up, sins on your palms, offer them up, ask for forgiveness. It's as simple as that. And like I say, no matter where you live in this world, what the colour of your skin doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This Siluri is just symbolic. Basically, it's about the soul and how good you are as that's what's going to win it. Will you stand up and accept, and obviously, he's not asking you to have faith. And like I say, I don't have faith. I know this is real, because how is this all in existence, and how am I able to do it is the question. Anyway, on that note, folks, hope this has been a mind-blowing video for you. I really appreciate comments. If you can like it, great. If you can spread this message and get it out somewhere. I mean, I'm not asking you, this is like written proof, really, that Yah is real and what is coming. And well, I don't know, if this doesn't convince you that this is real with the world events and everything else going on, I really don't know what to say to you. But like I say, until next time, Yah's blessings to you all.